Guys, welcome to Judge Jodi, Paxton Road's Premier League Player Ratings show. What a week it's been for Spurs, getting knocked out of the Carabao Cup, which we probably don't really want to talk about too much. But then another epic win against Burnley yesterday. Who better to talk through the epic win that it was yesterday? That's what we're here to talk about. Then Jack and Nikki. Jack, welcome back. How are you?
Good to be back. Good to give nice player ratings this time around. I feel like if I recall,
Yeah.
maybe last time it might have been, one of, pretty bad result. I'm trying to remember. It could have been like a Wolves, sort of fixture or something like that, where it's just a
Oh.
game where we just didn't, we just expected to win, and it was the complete opposite. And then I probably was still a little sore, gave some pretty harsh ratings, and now I feel like I'm going to be the complete opposite. Hopefully I'm going
Yeah.
to be, cushioning up all the players and giving them nice, sweet, sweet compliments.
Oh, you got to do that. You got to do that after how many seasons of poor ratings and poor performances that we've had. It's nice to be able to actually have some positivity in this place for once. What did you think about the match overall yesterday? Any kind of high level thoughts?
Um, I went into it with definitely a lot of confidence. The only thing that was on the back of my mind going into it was it has been a bit of a bogey team for us in the past, especially away from home. I think that was
Yeah.
maybe, come to think of it, maybe more just to do with Dyche, maybe, and just sort of those really negative tactics of his that really
Hmm.
just caused people a lot of headaches. But it also could have been just the going that far up north. It's cold, times of the year when, maybe we played them when we're in the middle of a really,
A Tuesday
heated,
night.
yeah, Tuesday nights. And I just feel like a lot of them have been like really, times when there's been a lot of chaos or just sort of like, fixture congestion and things like that. And that wasn't the case, obviously, this time around. And so I'm really excited that Spurs have sort of, been able to take away that sort of bogey team thing away from us. So yeah, I'm, pretty happy about that. Sorry, there's a siren.
It's all right. No, I agree. I think I always have that Burnley always comes to my mind when I'm talking about like that bogey kind of same situation when it's like pouring down with rain, freezing cold, like a Tuesday night when they come off and they like that those real scrappy games. But I think
Yeah.
we've got the monkey off the back with yesterday's game. And it was awesome. I think Burnley did start out really well, didn't they? Like they looked so lively, I
Hmm.
think, in that first half. But I just don't know what Company was doing at halftime, like making those changes that he did. I don't think it boded well for them.
No, it didn't. And I also just
So-
sort of quickly thought too, before the sirens blew past me, that um, I felt like there was a bit of pressure. I'm not sure, like I'm not in the position of being a Burnley fan, but I sort of thought that was like their third match in a row, I believe, at home. They had that Luton game canceled, but you
oh,
kind
that's
of felt
right.
like
Yeah.
they wanted to get a win or at least some sort of points at that stage. And of course, like, it's still early in the season and everything, but you want to kind of get off on the right, sort of step. And Company, another loss for him at home. I believe that's 3 defeats at home, if I'm not mistaken, from the Premier League. And that's what I also kind of had in the
Yeah.
back of my head was like, would there be that sort of pressure from the fan base, as well, to really get the result that day against us? But, we rose
Mm.
above it, and I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And welcome everybody who's in the house today. Moondog, thank you for being here. Carl Simpson, good to see you. Yes, I'm well. Jack, I hope you're well. Yeah, much nicer with an attacking Spurs team playing gorgeous football. And isn't the football just phenomenal? I mean, what a difference! What a difference we've seen already just in the first, well, 3 Premier League games anyway. But amazing. Like I'm just so happy to see. I'm happy to see Spurs thriving, and I'm happy to see Sonny on the score sheet. Not once,
Yes.
not twice, 3 times. But yeah, we'll get into that, I'm sure. Before we do get into that, guys, if you can please like the show. Subscribe to Paxton Road if you're new. That kind of stuff really, really helps us out. And if you can also please put your ratings in the chat as well, and Jack and I will go through them and we'll talk about what you guys have to say as well. But I think with that, Jack, let's just get straight into it. I think let's just not wait around. I think there's a fair bit to talk about today. Good things, all positive things.
Big
But
Vic.
yeah, Vicario, Big Vic. All right, what are we saying? 6 and a 7.
Do you want to go first, maybe just because?
I'll go first. And because when you sent your ratings through, I kind of agreed with you, but I didn't want to change it at the last minute. Felt a 7 might have been a bit too heavy just because he didn't have a lot to do, right? I think there were 3 saves. One of the saves he made was incredible. Let's be honest. I think there was that save that he made. I think, yeah, I don't think he could do anything for the goals. Maybe you might think otherwise. I personally don't think he could have done anything. Definitely not for the first one, I don't think. Maybe the second one potentially, but other than sort of those goals, for me, he didn't have a lot to do. And, he did make 3 good saves.
Yeah.
I think 7's probably a bit high, really, to be honest. So maybe a 6 is warranted. But what are you thinking?
There's not really many stages where, again, we're really questioning Vicario very much. And I think even with the 2 goals he conceded, I'm not really, raising my eyebrow or anything like that. Especially, I think the first one, even though it sort of kind of went, I think, kind of through him in a way, it was pretty much a point blank, range, kind of a tap in pretty much. And
Yeah,
it also was
yeah.
hit pretty low. And I think when someone kind of hits it first time that close to you and they actually hit it low and on the floor, that's even more kind of difficult to sort of react to, right? Usually than
Mhm.
sort of hit right at you and you can kind of just, react out of survival. But and then the other goal he conceded towards the end, I mean, it was actually a really good finish and it also took a pretty
Yeah.
nasty deflection as well. And yeah, I can't really fault him too much. I feel like the only reason I'm giving him a 6 is because in possession, I thought he was still great. It's just some of
Mm,
those long balls I feel like just weren't really
mm,
connecting as much as other players were able to land them, like someone else we'll talk about, maybe Pedro Porro. And
mhm.
so I feel like Vicario, he made some great saves, not really questioning him at all. I think he's looked fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe just in possession, thought some of those long balls could have been a bit more on target because that was part of the reason why I think we kind of started off a little bit nervous was just because
Mm.
we kind of were giving it away. Even though we needed to go long, I think he made the right decision each time by going long. It was not really
Just not
connecting.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is
No,
being
good
harsh,
shout.
I think, on my end. So, but I mean, that's the only thing I could think of with his performance
No,
because it
I
was
get it.
pretty
And
uneventful.
it was very uneventful, I think. Yeah. I think let's move on then to Pedro Porro, 8 and a 7.5. I'm with you on the 8. I'm with you on the 8. I mean, this guy going forward, like, he picked up 2 assists, I think, was it for Son? That pass to Son for Son's third goal was just nasty.
Yeah,
Like, it was amazing. I think I just defensively in this game, I just couldn't give him an 8 just because I just thought it was a bit of an all-rounder. I think the first goal, I don't know what you think. I thought maybe he got caught out a little
yeah,
bit too quickly for that first
definitely,
goal, so I kinda had to mark him down a little bit for that.
sure,
And yeah, I think not the best game defensively for him, but he is improving in that area 100%. Um, Going forward, not even a shadow of a doubt. Like his passing is incredible. And I
yeah.
think, the assist that he picked up definitely warranted a higher score. So that's kind of why I just gave him a bit down. But
No, you definitely
what do you
get
reckon?
points marked down for. I think for the most part, most of that goal that we conceded is pretty much on Pedro Porro.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
didn't track the run that well.
yeah.
He had an opportunity, I think, to tackle it before it was even in the box. He
Mm,
didn't. Then he sort of had another opportunity to kind of block the cross, let it go
yeah,
through
he
his
did.
legs,
Yeah, yeah.
and he kind of lost a bit of the physical battle, I think, in it too, or just sort of lost his footing a bit, and it just wasn't like bad defending, but it wasn't great either. And I think he did just end up being beaten on that occasion. And I feel like Mickey Van de Ven or Romero potentially you could say could have tracked the run a little bit better because it was
Mhm.
sort of like
Yep,
finished, right
yep,
in front of Vicario, like, and that's kind of up to the center backs to,
yeah.
because usually it's harder to track those runs that are a bit deeper, inside the penalty area where they're kind of like hanging outside the penalty area and then they rush in. Those are, I think,
Mhm.
always a bit harder to defend. But the striker pretty much just finished it right in front of
Yeah.
Vicario, which means somebody could have done something a bit better. But I
Yeah.
think it mostly falls on Pedro Porro. But this is
Yeah.
where I gave him an 8, is because I think he then makes up for it with the goals that we ended
Yeah.
up scoring. I feel
Yeah.
like the ball over the top for the first goal that we scored from Sonny,
Mm.
I think that's pretty much Pedro Porro, in that moment. He plays a picture perfect ball and
Perfect,
Sonny
wasn't it?
brings it down with a ridiculous touch. And then from there, you kind of knew that we were going to score, or you kind of really did expect us to score because it
Yeah.
was like a 2-on-2. And with Sonny and Solomon, both together, you kind of were really confident. So that really all
Mm.
came from Pedro Porro, I think. And then later in the game, to seal Sonny's hat trick, he just played again,
That was
just another
cool.
ridiculous
So
pass. I
good.
call him the postman because I think he's just so like his accuracy with them are just really frightening at
So
times.
clear. Yeah. Yeah.
it's the type of pass where you're just it's you wouldn't even complain, if it was, it's centimeters, perfect,
Yeah.
sometimes the way he does it. It's really impressive.
Yeah. No, and you know that it's going straight to like Son. Like you just know there's no like it's just yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So
No,
yeah, I
I
don't know if you
agree.
get that logic. Do you like the fact that, is there something in making up for, goals conceded? It's kind of like when a center back gives up a penalty and then, gets
Yeah,
a
yeah,
header,
yeah.
from a corner.
Yeah. Hey, you can judge this however you want, right?
Right, 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 right. True.
But I agree. I think either way is definitely warranted from my perspective. I think a really good game from
Nice.
Porro, and I'm loving seeing him start now and starting to improve and be on this, on the starting lineup every
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
Romero 8 and an 8.5. I gave him another a 0.5 just for the goal. I think he defensively,
yeah,
other than I think what you were saying about that first goal. I think I originally thought it might have been Romero's slip up, but then I watched it back and I thought maybe Van der Ven could have done a better job. Could have been both of them, like you said. So I think yeah, potentially something at play there. But otherwise, I think defensively
yeah.
he had a really really awesome game. Just defending like a boss as usual. Nice tackles in there like he usually does. But his goal, like it was like a rocket ship, man. Like the thing just like yeah, that was insane. I was so happy for
No,
him
that
when he got scored that, like what do you
it's still,
think?
was it one of those strikes? I feel like I was still thinking about it like 20 minutes later into the game. Like
Yeah.
even after we were scoring other goals and
Yeah,
other goals that happened in my mind, I was still thinking
yeah.
about that one. That's how good of a goal it was. I feel like I don't even know why I gave him an 8 other than I kind of wanted to make it. I don't know, like, I feel like I'm being harsh here. I don't really know other than that little kind of micro criticism that I had
Mm,
on the goal that we conceded initially, but like I sort of said, and I think we both agreed with, it was really more on Pedro Porro than it was on Romero. And the rest of his defensive moments, he was simply brilliant. He had
so
some
good.
crunching
Yeah.
tackles that were beautiful to
Mhm.
watch. Some of his clearances, I mean, I've never seen a man
Mm.
head it that with that much neck power. Like, kind of, to get it out of the box and everything. Is He's just such a man mountain
He's
of
so
a
aggressive,
defender.
isn't he?
I think he's a regeneration of like a Sergio Ramos, like in a way, in the
Yeah.
fact that he's a bit loose in the head, a
Yeah.
bit crazy, clearly
Yeah.
loves, like crunching into people, but also a bit like a Sergio Ramos, I think is very underrated and very good on the ball, kind of maybe
Mm.
more known for his defensive, kind of intimidation and like aggression, but like
Mhm.
just such a good passer, so good in
Yeah.
possession. Like some of the passes he makes just completely bypass the midfield and break the lines of the opposition so easily. He does it all the time without, I think,
Yeah.
people noticing. And then
Yeah.
that strike, I mean, I
Ugh,
said it.
it's just
It felt
crazy.
like it was Harry Kane. It felt like it was Harry Kane
Yeah.
striking that the way he
Yeah.
did, and he's
Yeah.
such a
The
beautiful
power on
technician.
that.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it was the
Yeah.
goal. I think it could end up being one of the goals of the season because you also think about
Yeah.
we did really
We
we were
needed
playing
it, didn't
well,
we?
but we needed that
Mhm.
goal too, and
We
you
did.
couldn't ask for a better
It
goal at
set
that
the
time.
tone, I think, for the rest of the game. Like, I think everybody was just on it, like, after that. And just, uh, I'm sure other people have spoken about this, but the captainness of it as well, and just really stepping into
Yeah,
that role, and just, I think even. Ange was saying, all the captains scored, and like that's so true. Like that's what we need from it's what we've been missing from our captains and the captain squad
Spot
that
on.
we've had in the past. We've only had, one member of that team really stepping up
You're
in the
spot on.
past. So yeah, definitely,
Do
definitely.
you just quickly, don't you love as well? Like, I think what adds to the beauty of that goal is when you hit it so hard as well that it also just sort of rings out of the net, like almost like it's inside like a indoor, where you kind of like hit it in the goal, it just bounces straight out as well. Like that's one of
Yeah.
my favorite things with the goal is like when you finish it
Yeah.
past the keeper and it then rolls out right past him as well. I think that's also just an extra added bonus for sure.
It's amazing. No, it was so good. Well done, Romero. Let's see more. Let's see more. Let's get you on the score sheet a lot more this season.
Yeah, definitely.
Mickey Van den Ven. What are we saying, Jack? 6 and a 6.5. You want to go first, or do you want me to go first on this one?
Sure. I feel like I don't even know what else I have to say other than I feel like he started off actually a little shaky and a little
Mm,
nervous. I remember some times where he gave up, possession with some, passes that were just a little short, maybe a bit under hit. Other moments where he might not have been on the same page as some other players. And I think if I really were to actually put the blame on that, the second part of the blame, other than Pedro Porro on the goal we conceded,
yeah,
I actually do
yeah,
think it was Mickey Van de Ven who
yeah. It
maybe have
was.
tracked the run a bit better. And he
Yep.
just looked, this is harsh, but he just looked like a guy that came off of a really disappointing game on Tuesday night, has been
It's
playing a lot
true. Yeah,
recently, and
yeah.
maybe just looks a bit tired. And also, too, like, it just I think playing in that game Tuesday night where I actually feel like he was one of the only good performers on the day,
Mm,
it
apart
could
from the own
be
goal.
apart from the own goal, it's hard to know, like but then I think the own goal is really not his fault at
It's
all.
not really his fault, is it? Yeah.
And, so
Yeah.
you just feel like he's a guy that's just probably
Gets the
going into
blame
this
for
game,
it.
like, looking forward
Yeah.
to the international break, maybe just looking forward
Yeah.
to a break. So, give him a
Yeah.
6. He had a great day, though, still.
No, I agree. I kind of originally gave him a 7, and then I
Mm,
rewatched the game, and then yeah, I did have to check to make sure it was him. I think, for, like you said, for the first goal, and I think the second goal as well. He tried to stop it, but he didn't get there. He didn't get the ball quick enough. He
correct.
he really did make a good attempt at it, and that's we can't like say he's not trying at all, because he is. And I think like every game that he's played, I actually do think he's been playing like amazing, and it's what we've been
Yeah,
missing
yeah,
in that back line 100%. But I just think it's like little mistakes like that maybe just he needs to tighten up a little bit, to enable us to get sort of where we need to be and where we want to be, sort of as a challenging
yeah.
team.
If you
He's new as
yeah,
well. He's young. Like he's got so many great attributes. And I'm not saying that he didn't play well at all. I think he played really, really well. But I think it's just a couple of little things, maybe like you said, might be just after Tuesday and things to tighten up, I guess. But but yeah, other than those two sort of mess ups in this game, I think he had some, the block shots
yeah,
that he had. I think he clears the ball so well as well. When you're talking about people clearing the ball, like yeah, and I just feel so confident as well with him in the back line, even though there are a couple of little things, like you still feel so confident with him as opposed
yeah.
to
Oh, yeah.
whoever else we could be having in that back line, right?
He's the just symbol of composure. I think maybe even I feel like 6 is still it could be a tad harsh. I just
Mm,
feel like if I were to say of all the performances I've seen of his, maybe this one wasn't my favorite. I think other ones, he's been much better, like even more like imperious and just
yeah.
more just like assured of himself. I just think like today, some of his passing, at least in the beginning, was a bit off at times, and that's all. I don't know if it was one of those things where I'm like, I can't. I don't want to give everybody the same rating, so maybe I'm just guilty of that in
Yeah.
this situation too. I just wanted to give somebody a different rating. Yeah,
That's
other than the
fine. Let's
8.
move on. Let's move on. Destiny. Destiny. Oh, we're matching on this one. Destiny Doggy. Like this guy is just insane. I mean, just another outstanding game, and I don't think it was the best he's ever played, really. Like, I he played really well, but I think he could play better. I think that's
Yeah,
kind of how it was for me. I mean, he picked up the assist for Madison, and I think he set up Solomon, didn't he, for Son's second goal? So, like,
spot on.
yeah. what a what a baller this guy is. I think so much action is going through him constantly.
Hmm.
I just love this guy. Like, I think he just keeps getting better and better. He's such a he's becoming such an important player. We're getting players now that are like just so important for us that,
Correct.
as I guess Tuesday night, showed, we have to play these guys. Like, they're just too important for us not to. Um,
What do you make of the kind of conversations where it's kind of like Udoji's already, right, the best left back in the Premier League, or he's already one of the best left backs in the world.
yeah,
I know it's that sort of thing where it's fun to get ahead of yourself, but I mean, if you were just judging by your initial sort of impressions, do you feel like it's not that crazy to sort of, feel like he is one of a kind, or do you feel
I
like
think
you're kind of
he's
on the you have to see more kind of camp?
I don't even think I need to see more. Like, he's
Love it.
very impressive. Like, he's just all over it. Like, every single game that I've seen him start. I mean, it's a big call to make, right? So I don't mean putting stuff out there right now, but I think he could definitely be there. If not
Yeah.
already, definitely he's a contender for it for sure.
Yeah, I like it. You don't
Might be a bit
sometimes you
soon.
just don't have to see more. Sometimes you can just sort of tell this guy's one of a kind, he's special. I
Yeah.
agree. I don't really know what else I have to say. I feel like I agree that it wasn't again like my favorite performance of the ones that I've seen from him this season, but something that really is showing again through him is he is just composed defensively,
Mm,
and I think I almost felt like nothing went down his side, and anytime that something did, he just mopped it up so
just cleaned
easily.
it up,
And some of
didn't
his
he? Yeah.
tackles, like you see certain
5
tackles,
tackles. Yeah.
5 tackles, but I feel like he,
Mm,
like, just pokes them away, like, just so casually and,
mm.
like, so like, with I know Romero, I kinda prefer his challenges because they really crunch into people, but Udoji's a bit of the opposite. He just sort of, like, just
Just like
kinda
silky,
grabs the player and then
silky
just kind of
tackle.
pokes it away and then just keeps it all under control. He had a few tackles where just expected it just to ricochet out of bounds, and he somehow was able to keep it in play, and it was yeah, he's just a special his touch, his the way his sometimes he carries it through the midfield. You think he's a midfielder.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah. And just another reason, like you're saying defensively, another reason why we managed to keep out so many goals as well. Like, the reason why Burnley didn't pick up more in that first half, I think.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
yeah, no, I love it. I love him. Keep it up, Destiny. Pat Matissa. Oh yeah. I mean, again, not a bad game. Like, six is not, from my perspective, six isn't a bad game. It's not his best game. I think he's definitely been livelier in other games. I marked him down just for the yellow. Like, I think he showed a bit of inexperience, throwing the ball away like that. And I'm sure it's been drilled into these guys so many times that they need to be really careful about making kind of silly things like that, because
yep,
if what's going to happen this season, we've seen it sort of time and time again, time wasting yellows, throwing the ball away, those kind of things, which we
yep.
just can't afford because of our squad depth at the moment. We can't afford to have silly kind of yellows like that. So yeah, kind of just that was my thinking around that.
I
I
agree
think
with a
he
lot
had
of that.
3 shots as well. One on target, but for me, he's showing that he wants it. Like, he's showing that he wants to score. He's showing that he wants to, um, you know, to be the man. So, yeah. What do you reckon?
I think we could be it's one of those games where he had actually you mentioned the 3 shots there, and that was, good research actually, on the stats because now that I think of it, I do feel like he had, like, one chance in particular where I can't remember if he slipped or it just got blocked or
Hmm.
something, but he actually had a very good chance to score where I do feel like we sort of expected him to score, but
Yeah,
I remember he got unlucky, like, it wasn't, like, really something really entirely his fault, just something was a bit unlucky that just didn't go his way, and he didn't get a goal, and then it feels like if he got a goal there, we would be talking about a very different
it's
performance
true.
because,
Yeah,
it's one
mm,
of those ones, so
yeah,
it's not like he did really anything all that wrong other than what you mentioned with the yellow card, which is really spot on because I think about for future games against an Arsenal or a Chelsea,
yeah.
it's something you have to think
100%.
about because those
Yeah,
games are even more intense, even more high pressure. and even more likely for you to lose your head. And then if
Yeah.
he's, showing that in, kind of a game against Burnley, it is something to be aware of. But on the most part, like, he doesn't stand out, in any poor way. He just fits in with this team at such a young age and with so little experience as well, playing in the
Yeah.
Premier League, and he just fits in with all the rest of these top players. And I mean, pretty
Mhm.
much two world-class midfielders next to him, and Bissouma and Madison. He just fits in so well.
You
The
fit
team
so
just
well. Yeah.
the team, he looks so comfortable going forward. He always looks like he is able to score, grab a goal in the penalty area. When I see Skip wander into the penalty area, he looks lost. He looks
Mm.
confused. And also too, in possession, Sarr is
Yeah.
able to keep possession. He has a good touch, a good first
It's
touch, a good
yeah.
pass. He just is a good midfielder who can sort of do it all. Like, I think he is going to be in 6, 7 years one of those complete midfielder type players that sort of can kind of do everything.
Mhm.
um, so yeah, I mean, it just wasn't really the most memorable performances from him, but I do feel like you're right about those 3 shots. One of those I think could have been a goal actually, and then we
Yeah.
would have been
Yeah.
talking about an 8, or a 9.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's just the way the game panned out. I think David was also saying his passing was off. I think it might have
Maybe
been as
true.
well. Yeah, just not as we're used to. And I think here, Matter Football TV, welcome. Star can't always be a 10, and that
Yeah, that too.
that's true. So our ratings are for this game and this game only. So, right, let's move to Basuma. Sevens again. Matching here, Jack. I think again a bit quieter for Basuma.
Mhm,
He did throw in some really good tackles, and I think he had a shot
mhm,
on target as well, didn't he? Like a solid performance as always with Basuma. I think he has had better games or games where he has been more involved, even like more involved, I guess. But again, I think he's another really, really important player for us, like all of them at the moment. And I think yesterday, he stepped up to the mark, and I think he deserved a 7 for that.
mhm.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And wasn't the most standout player out of all the guys, and that's
Mm,
completely okay. But in no way, did anything wrong. Um, and made a lot of good tackles, like you mentioned there. That oftentimes are really they can be goal-saving tackles because of just how risky of a type of play that we have, or how much on the front foot we are. We do need those tackles to be spot on. I just felt like maybe there were a few occasions where I remember he got a little bit sort of lackadaisical with the ball. I remember one in
mm.
particular, kind of deep in our half, where he just sort of was kind of like, he's having a good time because he knows he can pretty much do anything on the ball, and I think he got kind of caught
Yeah,
out actually for it. And we did
yeah,
nearly concede. We did nearly actually concede from it.
yeah.
So I do feel like from going that actually is the only reason I would drop him from like an 8, this sort of
Mm.
level, to like a 7,
Just
because
being a
there
bit
was
cocky.
one moment. There was one moment where he just got a little lackadaisical. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I think that just so important for us, like tackling well as always, just getting stuck in the middle, and just like again another player that everything kind of comes through. Um, and just so refreshing to see him this season. I've said it before, but just remember, like our best of last season. Like it's just so nice for him as a player as well, just to be able to be able to unlock that creativity and
So
that
true.
amazing talent that we all knew he was, and we all know he is, and just didn't have a chance to like showcase that really at all last season. So
Spot
yeah,
on.
it's really nice to see. All right, this guy, man, this guy. I mean, I was going to give him a 10 to be honest, but I don't think it was that. I think a lot of people are saying man of the match. I think he comes close from my perspective. I think
Hmm.
like everything comes through this guy. Everything, like, and just his play, like his all-round game was just phenomenal. I think, like, just
Yeah.
the way that he moves and like just his like dribbles and his creativity, just the way that he moves the ball. I just again, how many times can I say this? Like, how lucky are we to have him in our team? Harry who? No.
Wow. Yeah.
No, no, I don't mean that. But like just yeah, I think we're very, very lucky to have him. I think if he'd have picked up a hat trick like someone else, maybe I would have given him a 10. But just for his creativeness and how important of a player he is for us, and
Yeah.
just what he did yesterday. I think a nine's warranted from my side. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're spot on. I think it was that good of a performance from him that sort of, comment on Harry Kane is, what's coming out from people is that good of a performance that people feel so like you feel
100%.
so confident in somebody when they play that well, right? You do kind of feel like, they're capable of anything and, you feel like, you're, walking on air, sort of thing, when they play that well and you just know that they can really turn the game on its head and just be able to do anything. And I think Madison is
Mm,
one of those players. And I think compared to maybe other midfielders who often will go for those sideways passes to not take as many risks and things like that, he's just pretty much the opposite. He always looks to try to make something happen. He's always taking a risk to try to play, pass to break the lines or play somebody in behind or just sort of switch
yeah.
play. And he's always looking to maybe spin his, defender too if they come close. He's not always just going to pass it backwards to where he received it from. He's just a
Mhm.
guy that is just a progressive, and I think the right word is probably just positive. He's a very positive midfielder, just always trying to make something happen.
Yeah,
Never
positive. Yeah,
really,
yeah.
never content with just moving it from side to side, letting somebody else do the work and letting somebody else create chances. He wants to
Yeah,
be the guy to create
wants
the
to step
chances, and
in. Yeah,
this
yeah,
was one of those games.
yeah, definitely. And I've mentioned this before as well, but just his all-roundedness and just embracing Spurs, like you kind of have to throw that in as well, like being part of the leadership team, which I'm sure is why Andrew's like picked him to be in that squad. But like just everything about him is just positive right now, and yeah, I don't know, like, what more could we want? Like, you want players that wanna be here as well. You want players that don't just wanna pitch up for the payday kinda thing. You want players that actually look to care maybe that they wanna be
Yeah.
playing for Spurs, and that's what he's doing, so,
He
yeah.
looks to be he looks really happy to be here, and that's another thing that I'm
Mm,
really, just enjoying right now. Is a lot of players in this team, and I think James Maddison absolutely is one of them. Really seems to enjoy being here, playing for this team, and
yeah,
just wearing this shirt. And he seems to be one of them. He's getting along really well with the Spurs fans, and a
yeah,
lot of other players
yeah,
are too. And I'm also really happy about that. He just looks to be fitting right in.
100%, and for a good price too, as Meta Football is stating.
With all the prices this year, I mean, there's probably 1,000 examples of, ones that you just sort of scratch your head with, with
Mm,
how did we end up, paying this little for somebody like that. And I
yeah,
know it is a relegation team, but you still have seen other sort of relegation,
yeah,
players go for pretty crazy fees still. And so,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, I think any of the top teams are, spewing basically they don't have matters in their team. So all right. Dejan Kulusevski, 6 and a 6.5. I don't know. This is a tough one for me because I actually think he had a better game than he has had lately. Like I do think, and I don't know if that was because he was popping up more and he seemed to be getting a lot more action, or if he was actually being a bit of a
Yeah.
nuisance with that. It was a busy game for him, I think. I think he was struggling with his end product. I think
Yep.
he had, 3 interceptions. Like he was, like I said, busy. He was getting kind of stuck in, and I think probably trying to sort of prove to keep his place with all the 30,000 other wingers that we've got in the squad. But yeah, it was a tough one for me. I think I do think he was trying a lot. 2 key passes, like he was getting involved where needed, but I can't really recall anything like massively amazing that he did for us.
Yeah. I think you covered a lot of the talking points on Kulusevski there. I would say that the trend that I'm starting to see is he is being a bit wasteful with certain chances that he does
Yeah.
get, with like one-on-one sort of chances where he's pretty much a lot of space, lined up with a fullback. If he gets that sort of inch or that sort of space to create an angle, most strikers, most wingers would be able to fashion a good attempt on goal and be able to usually score in a lot of
Mm,
cases at a pretty high level and he just hasn't been doing that. I do feel like I
yeah.
could say we just forget about it because it ends up getting blocked. And usually he does a really good job about recovering too. Like his work rate off the ball is very
It's
underrated.
yeah, I agree.
He is a very good
He's
worker off the ball.
busy. Yeah.
And he's so strong compared to other wingers because you can hit it into him and he will be able to hold it up for you. Someone
Mhm.
even said that Kulusevski actually should go down easier sometimes because he really is getting dragged and pulled and thrown about, but he has, I guess, that sort of he's not that doesn't have that tendency to go down when he probably could. It's just
Mm.
that apart from his hold up play, which I think was really good, and I think his work rate off the ball and his defensive, work rate was really good. I
Yeah.
just feel like when you are a winger in this sort of system, you are going to be presented a lot of chances to, go at your man and create a goal for yourself or create a goal for
Yeah.
others. And I just
Yeah.
don't think
He's
he's
not
been doing
doing
that.
that.
And you said it with the
No.
end product. You said the end product's not there. I just
Yeah.
feel like the example of that is I feel like so many times I'm just seeing him inside the penalty area, dribbling out of his man, one on
Mhm.
one with his defender, and it just gets blocked
Yeah.
each time. It
Yeah.
never even reaches the
Doesn't get
goalkeeper,
far
it feels
enough.
like.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. What are you thinking about Brendan Johnson? Do you think Decky's days are done, or?
It's hard because will Brennan Johnson offer the same work rate? I think he will, from what I've heard and
Mm.
from what I've seen. He's also a very, hard worker off the ball. He will press. He's very fast, also pretty strong, like Kulusevski. Maybe not as strong, but still pretty strong
Yeah.
for a pretty pacey winger. And maybe compared to Kulusevski, he is going to be more deadly with the chances that he's going to be given. I think Brennan Johnson, from a stat that I saw, his kind of sort of accuracy with the shots that he does take is about as high as Son's, which is, pretty
Wow.
much one of the more ruthless players, I think, in the
Mm.
Premier League, Sonny. He's almost always on target, it feels like Sonny. Even Sonny misses, his shot. It feels like it, is always at least challenging the
Yeah.
goalkeeper in
His
some way.
first
And
shot.
Johnson is
Yeah.
apparently the same kind of player. He's just very ruthless with the chances that he gets. And Kulusevski, while very good at creating chances for others, I think he is good at creating chances for others. He's not been
Mm.
as good when the chances have come his way for him to score. He's not really
Yeah.
taking them, in my opinion.
And people have figured him out as well, right? Um,
That too, it could be the case.
because yeah, it's kind of ever since his injury, I think at the middle of last season, trying to remember now when he got injured, but and then after the World Cup and everything, and then we just saw the downfall from Decky. But it could also be like the fact that when he first came in, teams weren't used to him, and now they've kind of sussed out his little cut in and everything, and maybe that yeah, maybe it is time to bench him and see what Brendan can do. Um,
Yeah, he'll be very
which is
different, and
sad.
there's something exciting about that.
Yeah,
Brennan.
definitely. I'm sad about that. I do like Decky, but I think we just need to see what happens. But we got options. We got options.
Definitely.
This guy, 8 and an 8 again. Wow. Yeah, I was a bit worried at the beginning. I think most people probably were. I think he started out a little shaky. Um, but yeah, his confidence grew and he picked up 2 assists in the end. He was working so well with Sonny. I think it was a really, really great game for him. And I think another one really maybe wanting to show Ange that he has a place in this team. What is his stats saying? Like 5 key passes. He had two shots, none on
It's
target, but
impressive.
yeah, really impressive. I thought he had an outstanding game. The best game I think I've seen him play. Not that we've seen much really from him so far. So yeah, I thought it was a really all round pretty awesome game, apart from maybe the first little bit
Yeah.
of the match where he's a bit shaky. But
I think anybody starts nervous
yeah.
and but the funny thing I said is that while he started nervous, he was still picking up really good positions and still receiving the ball in really good areas. And that could be because the team around him was doing such a great job at giving him, the ball, but it also could have been because of his own good work as well, right? Setting himself
Yeah.
up in good areas to make things happen. And it felt like when he did receive the ball initially, he was a loose pass, heavy touch, heavy pass for sure. But I still give him credit for, picking up the ball in dangerous positions and dangerous areas
Mhm.
where you did expect him to make something happen. And the more he grew into the game, the more confidence that he
Yeah.
grew with, the more those
Yeah.
sort of chances that he ended up, receiving, he was, able to create more for others. So
Hmm.
it's just the definition of growing into the game type of performance. And if he had played another 90 minutes, probably would have grabbed 3 more assists and probably would have grabbed like a goal. He just was slowly and slowly becoming more confident and making more of an
Yeah.
impact. But compared to other nervous performances I've seen from players,
Yeah.
it was a nervous performance where he was still making things happen.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And it's that all round game and just helping the team out, like you said, I think is what's been so important. Um, and yeah, no, I actually really enjoyed his game yesterday. Right. Son, and what I've done, I've missed his little footballs there. I didn't give him 3 little footballs because he got 3 goals. I was too excited doing the presentation. I didn't put them on there. But yeah, Son, tens. I mean,
Is it a rule
I
to
think
give
there's a
someone
lot
a
of
10 from a hat trick? Is it a rule?
yeah, I think that's like I think and there's probably going to be some people saying what 27 touches, like what did this guy do other than score 3 goals? So yeah, I mean
Nice
let's
job.
face it, the game exactly that, Jack. Exactly that. I think so many people are like, well, Son's not scoring goals, Son's not scoring goals. Well, at least this guy, this is his job, this is what he did, he scored the goals. I think wasn't the most liveliest game, like at times, definitely, but he was there when he needed to. His first touch, I think, was off on a couple of I think he had 5 attempts, didn't he? A couple of them he missed, but he got a hat trick. Like he did what he needed to do. He got it done. I don't know.
He's clinical.
What more?
That's what it
What
is.
more? What
He's
more can you
ruthless.
say about it? Sonny's back, baby. What do you think?
His first goal was, I think, what we've been missing with Richarlison, actually. It was like
Well,
he had a loose touch, I think, Sonny. I didn't think he intended to finish it, at least from his body language, from what I could tell. Maybe he didn't intend to sort of go about it that way. He sort of the touch got a little in front of him, and then he just did that lovely dink over the keeper. And the way he kept his composure with that is sort of what you need from your striker. It's not
yeah,
always going to bounce to you in the way that you expect it to. It's not always going to come to your left foot when you want it to. It's going to come to your right foot instead. And about being a striker is just sort of like you just know where the goal is. You know
yeah,
how to finish it in a moment's instance. It's very rare that you just get all this time in the world to think about, how you want to finish it. And it does feel like Richarlison has sort of been like, I don't know, like he's when he's given these chances that, end up sort of falling on his lap, he doesn't seem to take them. Whereas Sonny in that case, like, he created that chance on his own with a beautiful first touch from that ball over the top from
oh,
Pedro
it's so
Porro.
good.
It really
Yeah,
was just a terrific goal from him. But I did sort of think like when he had that little loose touch, it's just like Richarlison there, I think would have missed the chance. Whereas Sonny just makes it actually turns it
it's
into a lovely goal, like turns it into a lovely finish. And then the rest of
yeah,
them are just ruthless, just, striker type, first time. Well, I guess the second one was more of a first time. And then the third
mhm,
one, was that beautiful left-footed finish. He's a ruthless striker. He is a goal
mhm,
scorer, and that's what we need Richarlison to be. When he gets his chances, we need him to take them.
yeah.
Sonny, when he gets his chances, usually
He
takes them. It's the difference.
99% of the time, 98% of the time, Sonny will take the chances lately. But yeah, no, I agree. It's I don't know. What do you think? Are we going to see Richie back for the next game, or
Hard to I just don't know. Like, I think you have to play Sonny in the same position. I do. I think you have
yeah,
to
I
play him in
think
the
so
same
too.
position. Maybe it's dependent on the opponent, but Ange doesn't really seem to me to be that sort of guy where he's going to care
No.
that much about the opposition, at least when it comes to how we attack. He might care about the opposition when it comes to how we defend,
Mm,
but I think less so with how we attack. I think if he thinks this is the most effective at scoring goals, then he will continue with this.
yeah. Do you think Richarlison, I know he was on the bench, but do you think he was dropped for this game just for Ange to kind of like shake it up a little bit, or do you think he had a bit of a knock after Tuesday? Or
I've heard some rumors from a few people that are sort of closer to Richarlison's camp that he's been actually dealing with an injury sort of this
mhm.
whole time and has been kind of powering through it because he just
Yeah,
wants to and he's tired of being injured is kind of what I've heard. He just kind of wants to just sort of
just
suck it
needs a
up.
break. Yeah.
And I think last season he was so unlucky with so many injuries when he had chances to play, right? And we wanted to play him, but he ended up being injured, and so then we had to, persist with Kane and other players. So I think he's sort of pushing through an injury right now. I can understand that, but I feel like also just being dropped because even the goal that he scored against Fulham, it wasn't really a great performance, I think, in general from him again.
No,
The
it wasn't.
Bournemouth game was a weird one for me because I felt like he played really well in the first half, and then
Mhm.
he missed that chance at the end of the first half, and his
Was that the
head just
header or was
dropped
that
for the
the
rest.
one
I
oh,
think it was
the
the one with his feet,
soft touch. Yeah,
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 and, like, his
yeah,
head dropped for the rest of the game, and I just don't get why. It's sort of like, yeah, you
yeah,
missed the chance, but you're playing so well, like, don't let your head
yeah.
drop,
He played
and it
yeah, I
did.
thought he played well in that game apart from obviously the missed chances, but yeah, I think it's confidence thing, but like others have said, if, we can't have somebody with low confidence being our central
It looks
striker,
like the
like
weight is on his
everybody.
shoulders, it really does. It
Yeah.
looks like it's,
Yeah.
the entire world is on his shoulders expecting him to score, which is sorta
Oh.
true, but
Poor
yeah, I
guy.
feel bad for the guy. Yeah, I feel bad
I
for
do
the
too. I do too. All right. Let's move on to crime of the week, Jack. Oh no, we've got subs. We've
guy.
got subs. We're not there yet. We're
Okay,
not
yeah,
yet there.
yeah.
I actually don't have too much to say about these guys, to be honest. But I put them up here just in case you've got any talking points really about subs. Anything, any highlights you want to call out at all?
Richie looked like he was actually close to scoring if he was given a few more
Yeah.
minutes. He did look like he was going to at some stage.
Yeah.
Højbjerg, I actually think does very well with Basuma. I think he
Mhm.
relieves Basuma a bit. He allows him to sort of kind of take a chill pill and just sort of not have to worry as much about defending. He can get a bit of further forward, knowing that Højbjerg's going to sit back and sort of mop up for him.
Yeah.
Skip, I don't know. I do have a bit of a Skip agenda, but I do think
I'm starting to get one
from
as well.
his first touch, like his first touch just ballooned off of his foot. And
Yeah.
like there were other moments where I just feel like I'm a little worried about him. I don't think technically on the ball he's
Mm.
really good enough for this team. And the midfield seems to break down the moment that he comes into the team. But that's
We've
me
just got
being
too
pretty
many.
harsh. That's me just, my own
Yeah.
skeptical opinion of him.
We've just got too many way better players like in the midfield, other than Skip. Like I think he is a squad player. I think he's a safe bet, but yeah, I agree. I think he does worry me a bit when he comes on, or especially when he starts games now. I'm a bit concerned about it. So yeah, not too much for me to say about them really. I think Højbjerg is always a safe bet, like you said, coming off the bench just to kind of hold the game down. So I think he did well with that. But yeah, all good. Right, let's go to crime of the week, Jack. There's a couple of nominations this week. I don't think there's going to be any surprises what comes through here, but let's just go for it. So this one's come through for Ange for his team selection for Tuesday night's Carabao Cup. We also have the transfer window, namely the outgoings as opposed to the ingoings. So I think from Ange, yeah, what do you have anything to say about Tuesday? I know we don't really want to dwell on it too much. I think I'm over it now. I was
Yeah.
pretty annoyed. Let's say this week has not been fun up until yesterday when we won that game, but it's been a pretty miserable week. But I'm over it now, sort of.
Yeah. I
Thoughts?
my quick thoughts on it are I also am disappointed that he made that many changes, but I also see his logic that he has to figure
I
out
agree.
which players
Yeah.
can pass, which players can pass the swim test, and which ones
Yep.
can't. But
Yep.
there's also this thing where it's like we are, I think, a tad bit hypocritical in this case because we did say, oh, well, Sanchez is starting to look a bit better. Like Sanchez might be
I
good enough,
know.
to be a backup. Oh, Davies might be good
I
enough to be a
know. I
backup.
know. I
Skip is
know.
an adequate backup.
I
All these
know.
players are adequate
I
backups. And,
know.
I think some of the worst performers on the pitch were guys that we all sort of thought,
Mhm.
should be gone,
I
like
agree.
in the
I
beginning of the
agree.
summer. So is it really Ange's fault that they
No.
continue to underperform? I don't think it is. And it was also something where that match was not that dissimilar from times I've seen us play under Conte, Mourinho, Nuno. Like that game was pretty much just like Enes Mira or like Vitesse,
Yeah.
away from
Yeah.
home. And if it was Ange ball, this high possession on the front foot sort of tactics that were made to look like Jose Mourinho or Nuno ball because of that's not because of Ange. That's because of these players. Like these players
Mhm.
are clearly that poor on the ball
Yeah.
technically that they can't really play this system and they clearly can't even play, a Jose system or a Conte system
I
either.
can't play
So I
anything.
just think
Yeah.
that was exposed by Ange and he made
Yeah.
9 changes once again for the game.
Mm.
For the game we just played and we somehow
Yeah.
won 5-1. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of it is more just on the players than it is on him. I do feel like
Yeah.
one big mistake, if I were to call it out, Ben Davies as a captain, I'm not about
Mm,
that. I think that was a poor
no.
mistake on his end because everybody that day was guilty of passing it sideways, putting the pressure on somebody else to make something happen. Everybody was so reluctant to take a risk on the ball and try to make
Hmm.
something, create something. And Ben Davies was probably the most guilty of that on the
Yeah.
day. And if
Yeah.
you're wearing
I
the
agree.
captain's armband and just like telling everybody to play forwards, be
Follow.
positive
Yeah.
on the ball,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
your captain's the most guilty of that, I think that's
But that's
also a bad thing.
exactly it. Like, and that's, when you see Dyer being made captain in some of, like, sometimes it's as well, it's a similar situation. Like, you can't even look up to these
Can't have
people
a
that make
hypocrite,
these
I think, be a
mistakes time and
captain.
time again. Yeah, I agree. And I
Yeah.
agree what you said. I think, look, I think 9 changes, we've talked about it many times, but I think it was too much. I think personally, I think we should have played our strongest team and saved up the backups for maybe some of the Premier League
Yeah.
games that maybe we could have easily sort of gotten through if we have to play them. I think Ange is right as well. He needs to assess his squad. Like, when's he going to get the opportunity to do it? But this is probably not it,
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
cup is so important for us, and
So true.
because of the fact that we just need this trophy monkey off our back. Like, play your strongest team. Just play your strongest team. But
I
in
get that.
saying that, we only conceded one goal. Really, we still only conceded one goal. It went down to penalties. I think other people that probably should be on here, crime of the week, are the people who didn't step up to take the pens. Like,
Mm,
I think, I don't know for sure, but I think some people probably refused to take some that probably should have taken them, and maybe it might have been a better
yeah,
situation, better outcome for us. At the end of the day, we're out. Unfortunately, I was very upset, but we got to move on and we got to push forward for the FA Cup, I think.
definitely. Definitely.
But yeah, very sad, very sad. But I think we just have to keep backing Ange, and hopefully, he's seen
Yeah.
now that the players also are not great. Transfer window. Anything you want to say about that? I think this is mainly just for the outgoings. I'm personally pretty happy with the incomings we've had, especially
Yeah.
obviously Madison, Vicario, Brennan Johnson as well. I don't know yet. We'll see. We had 7 incomings, right?
Yeah.
Just lacking defensively. Got to talk about
Yep.
those outgoings, Jack, as well.
Yeah, I think that's where the crime is.
That's
I think you just
Yeah,
named it at the air then.
exactly,
That's where the
exactly.
crime lies. At the beginning of this window, I'm not sure about you, Jody, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people had Sanchez, Eric Dyer, Lloris,
Mhm,
Tanguy and Ndombele, a
mhm.
lot of these guys on the top of their transfer list, of guys that needed to
For
get
how
out of
many
the club.
seasons now?
Or yeah, for maybe more than one season. You're actually right there. But let's just say in this one in particular, almost every fan probably had those 4 in particular pretty high up
Mhm.
their list. And I'm not even including Ben Davies in it, just those 4.
Yeah, I agree.
And I none of all of them still remain. Like, that is a crime, I think, in itself. And then
Yeah.
also selling, like, it is, I know it sounds like a tagline to just sort of put the transfer window, in a bad light, but it's not that ridiculous to sort of say we ended up selling our best player from last season and ended up
Mhm.
keeping all of our worst players from last season. And we also had our
Yeah.
worst ever defensive season in history pretty much since, like, the early 90s. Um, in that case, like, you kind of just got to gut the whole defense. You got to just get rid of everybody. And we haven't done
Mhm.
that. We really haven't done that at all.
No,
And that's
no,
where I think the crime lies. And the crime also lies
agreed.
in not signing extra defenders
Yep,
apart from
yep,
Van de Ven. Spurs just
yep.
seem allergic to signing more than one good
We
defender
needed
in one
3
window.
centre
We like
backs.
spacing it out. We
I know.
like doing like one every 3 years,
It's
was
the
sort of our thing.
worst. It's the worst.
Yeah,
We needed 3 in my eyes. I mean, two is good, but I mean, we got 2, but one's not going to be starting for us in the main team, I don't think. So, yeah, I agree with all what you said. It's about the outgoings. We need to get rid of these players that just aren't good enough, and we got to get rid of them to be able to bring more players in, right? To bring
that's
them
also
in the
it.
positions that we need. So I don't know. It is a crime. Happy about the incomings, but yeah, outgoing is definitely not a good look.
Spot on.
But anyway, Jack, I think that's going to do it for today.
All right.
We've got the international break, so I think we were just talking before we came on. a bit. I don't like it when we're on form and when we're going into the international break and like so excited about watching Spurs like every weekend again, and now we don't have it.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I going to do for the next 2 weeks?
From the fans' perspective, I feel like, yes, I completely agree with you. If you were in Ange's shoes, it's almost good to take a break, I think, right now, because it's a
Yeah.
chaotic week. You had that mix up on Tuesday night. You also had a transfer window that just ended. Now, your
Hmm.
squad is sort of set and established. You got to figure out what you can do with the team you have until January. And it's almost a good thing that he now has sort of this time to just relax and
Yeah.
sort of reassess, take a
Assess
breath,
the team. Yeah.
and look at,
Yeah.
things for the future. Also sort of do a bit of future planning if he can,
Hmm.
for not like really, I think you take each game, one at a time, but just sort of thinking about, all right, like this is when it's going to get a little tough for us. This is when,
Hmm.
certain fixture schedules are going to get, pretty congested or whatever it might be. He can just sort of take a breath, have a bit more of a bird's eye sort of view at
Yeah.
everything. And I think that'd be good for him in general.
Get ready for the North London Derby as well, which is coming up very soon, isn't
There
it?
you go. Yeah, think about that.
Liverpool as well. I'm going to that one. Very excited.
Wow, nice.
Cool. Is there anything you want to talk about before you wrap up? Anything you've got coming up that you want to let people know
No, thank you for
about?
having me,
No,
Jody. It's been a
no
pleasure.
worries. Thanks for
Please,
coming on.
please we had a Twitter reacts. That was fun. We just
Yeah,
reacted
they are
to
fun.
some funny, it's nice to just look at how the rest of everybody else responds to the win so I can sort of shut up and let everybody else sort of do the talking. But yeah, if you want to laugh on a Sunday, check that out. But it's good to be back here. Thanks for having me
Good
back.
to have you back. No worries. Thanks for coming back. And thank you to everybody who's been here. We had a lot of you in today. Some new people. We've got, can't even shout you all out today because there's so many, but I'm going to give out a shout to Moondog, Carl Simpson, Steve Webb, Meta Football TV. Thanks for the sub. Berbatov's Halftime Smoke.
It's a great name.
Sean Hurl as always. Our very own David Clark as well. We had Juice Nuts was here, Mark New, all you guys. Cantab, yeah, Mile High Hotspur. So many people. Thank you for being here. If you are new, if you can please like the show if you liked it, and also if you could subscribe to Paxton Road TV, it really really helps us out. And yeah, I think that's probably going to do it for today.
Nice.
Not going to be back again for another couple of weeks, so yeah, I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. But yeah, stay safe everybody, and come on, you Spurs.